Hey guys, tonight we slip back in time about 300,000 years into a world where fire isn't just warmth or light, but the very difference between life and death. Picture yourself stretched out on the hard, chilly floor of a cave, the faint glow of embers casting long, flickering shadows on the rock walls. The air is thick with smoke and the smell of burnt wood, mixed with something earthier, maybe mammoth dung or crushed roots. You blink against the half-dark, wondering if the fire you tended last night still breathes beneath those grey ashes, or if it's finally gone cold and dead. Spoiler alert, if it's dead, you probably won't survive this. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, while you're at it, drop your location and the local time in the comments, because it's kind of fun to imagine you're here with me in this smoky cave at this weird hour. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake before the first pale light spills into the sky, before even the birds think about stirring. The cave is cold, the kind of cold that gnaws into your bones after a long night. You groan, muscles stiff from sleeping on hard rock and animal hides, and carefully peel yourself away from your spot near the fire pit. The embers should still be glowing faintly beneath a blanket of grey ash, but you're not sure. If the fire's gone out overnight, you might as well be tossing your life away. You trudge forward, fingers scraping the ash, searching for any hint of warmth. A red-orange flicker, number just cold grey powder. Your heart sinks. The clan depends on you to keep the fire alive, not just for cooking or comfort, but for protection from predators and the spiritual safety the flames bring. Fire was like a living thing back then, something sacred and dangerous. You probably already guessed it wasn't easy. Many early firekeepers met bad ends, either from smoke inhalation or chilly nights. Remember that mammoth dung sunscreen I joked about last time? Well, tonight you breathe in its thick, pungent aroma from the ash pit. Fire was often kept alive with dung because it burned slow and hot. This wasn't your typical kindling. It was hard work feeding those flames, especially when everything's damp or cold. Some historians still argue whether early humans actually controlled fire, or were just lucky scavengers for hundreds of thousands of years. But here you are, feeling responsible for those fragile flickers that keep death at bay. The cave is silent except for your shallow breaths and the occasional drip of water from the ceiling. You crouch low, pulling dry sticks from your pile, hoping you can coax a spark with flint. Sparks crackle, but it's not enough. No fire leaps up yet. You cough, tasting the lingering smoke from last night, and swear you can still feel the heat on your fingers. Your clan will soon wake, hungry and grumpy. They expect fire, and if you fail, their blame will land squarely on you. You shuffle back to the hide pile, knowing you have one shot to relight the sacred flame before morning. You're up early, and the first task is to feed the fire, or rather, feed the embers. You gather what you can from the remains of last night's fire pit. Dry bits of mammoth dung, cracked bones, and brittle twigs. Mammoth dung, surprisingly, is prime fuel. It burns long and slow like natural charcoal, and you've learned the hard way not to use just any old poop. Wet or rotten dung smokes like a dragon and chokes your lungs. You cough again, a dry rattling sound as you gently lay the dung pieces on the glowing embers and blow softly, coaxing life back into the dying fire. This isn't some casual campfire. This is the flame that keeps your entire clan alive. Without it, the cold bites deeper, food won't cook, and the night becomes a chorus of howls and eyes gleaming from the darkness. You know that one careless ember can turn into a wildfire or a disastrous burn, and you still can't help but laugh a little at the time you singed your own eyebrows trying to revive the flames. You're definitely the hothead of the clan in more ways than one. As you tend the fire, you can't help but think about how fire was humanity's first real technology. It's almost a superpower. Sure, some animals have fire-related instincts or use tools, but controlling fire, that's an invention that set us apart. Historians still argue whether the ability to create fire was a sudden breakthrough or a gradual skill learned over many generations, but either way, here you are, at the very front lines of that ancient mastery. With the fire now sputtering to life, you carefully add bigger sticks, watching the flames stretch and crackle. The smoke curls upward, stinging your eyes, and you wave your hand to keep it out of your face. The scent of burning mammoth dung is thick and earthy, almost like incense, which for some reason makes you think of rituals you overheard the elders whisper about last night. They believe the fire carries their prayers to the spirits, though you're less sure whether those spirits live in the logs or in the ashes. You glance around the cave, noting the worn animal hides laid out for warmth, and the rough stone tools scattered about. The firelight bounces off the flint knives and scrapers that were your ancestors' pride and joy, even if yours is looking a little worse for wear after last week's scuffle with a particularly stubborn log. You stir the fire with a stick, the flames now licking upward in a golden dance, and you breathe in deeply. The smell is comforting, powerful. The smoke tickles your throat, but it's a small price to pay for the life it brings. Around you, the clan begins to stir. Groans and shuffles from the sleeping area tell you they're awake and impatient. The elder grumbles about the fire not being hot enough for the root porridge, and you feel the weight of their eyes on you. You're the firekeeper. If the fire's weak, you're the one who's failed. You shuffle your feet in the ash, remembering the time you tried using dried moss as fuel. It smouldered forever and made everyone cough, but at least it kept the fire alive. The clan still jokes about that smoke bath day, but you know they depend on you to keep the flames burning strong, steady and safe. The fire's flicker is weak, and already the clan stirs with restless hunger. You hear low murmurs and grumbles. Hungry stomachs aren't exactly quiet, and the elder's scowl is sharper than the flint knives scattered around camp. The root porridge bubbles slowly over the embers, but it's far from hot enough to satisfy anyone's appetite. You feel their eyes, the unspoken blame weighing on your shoulders. The clan believes the fire is more than just heat. It's a living spirit that must be fed and respected. If the flame flickers or weakens, it's a bad omen. Some elders say the fire holds the souls of ancestors, and if it dims, so does the clan's strength. You've heard the stories of spirits living in logs, sometimes protective, sometimes vengeful, and you try not to dwell on them too much when the fire sputters. Your job isn't just to tend the flames, it's to keep the peace. But today, peace feels like a distant dream. Someone grumbles about lazy firekeepers who can't even boil water properly. Another insists the smoke smells off, maybe because of the mammoth dung you used. You bite back a retort and focus on adding more fuel, trying not to let your frustration show. You remind yourself this is part of the job, the endless blame and the high stakes. The fire crackles unevenly, and the smoke curls lazily toward the cave's mouth. You catch the scent of damp earth mixed with burnt wood, and it's strangely comforting. The elder mutters something about the fire needing stronger roots or heartier logs, and you make a mental note to search for better kindling tomorrow. Some clans believe the fire must be kept burning continuously, never allowed to die, even if it means carrying embers during migrations or cold nights. Historians still argue whether these early humans had permanent fires, or if they rekindled flames from natural sources like lightning strikes. For you, the question doesn't matter. Survival depends on your ability to keep the spark alive. The clan's grumbles fade as the porridge heats enough to fill hungry bellies, and the air fills with the sharp tang of roasting meat. You watch the others eat, their faces softening as warmth spreads through them. You've succeeded, for now. Still, you know the day will bring new challenges. Finding dry wood, guarding the fire from rain and wind, and maybe even fending off curious predators drawn by the glow. But for this moment, the fire burns steady, and you breathe a quiet sigh of relief. The morning's quiet is short-lived. Soon you're out of the cave and into the woods searching for dry wood to keep the fire alive. The forest is damp from last night's mist, and every branch you find feels heavier with moisture than the last. You instinctively avoid that deep, dark, hollow cave near the ridge, the one with weird echoes that make your skin crawl. Some say it's just a bear den, but archaeologists still argue whether places like this were early humans' ritual spaces or simply dangerous hideouts for animals. You stoop low, stepping carefully over moss-covered rocks and tangled roots, your hands seeking brittle twigs that snap crisply instead of bending. Dry wood is a rare treasure in this damp world, and your fire depends on it. You gather birch bark too, its papery sheets perfect for kindling. The smell of the forest is earthy, alive with the buzz of insects and the distant calls of birds you can't name. As you move deeper into the undergrowth, your mind drifts to the firekeeper's legacy. Your role is vital, but often lonely. You are the clan's guardian of flame, the one responsible for turning sparks into survival. Without you, the night would be dark and cold and the predators bold. Historians still debate exactly when humans first mastered controlled fire. But here you are, centuries ahead of the evidence left behind. You feel a strange mix of pride and pressure. It's a responsibility passed down like a sacred flame itself. The sun rises higher, and you pause beside a fallen log, rubbing 2 pieces of flint together to check your spark-making skills. The flint knife you carry is chipped but trusty. You remember the last time you nearly lost it to another firekeeper during a heated argument over territory. Such disputes aren't uncommon. Fire is power, and power invites conflict. You tuck the flint knife back into your belt and carry on, your arms heavy with wood and bark. As you near the cave's edge, you spot smoke rising from a distant ridge, the unmistakable sign of another band. A mix of curiosity and wariness creeps up your spine. Will they share fire secrets or fight for resources? You don't know yet, but you prepare yourself for either. At the edge of the valley, the other band's fire flickers through the early morning mist. You approach cautiously, knowing full well that fire knowledge is precious, and not everyone's eager to share. As you near their camp, the smell of resin and birch bark stings your nose. These are the firekeeper's secrets, a trick passed down that makes flames leap higher and burn cleaner. A tall figure steps forward, the other band's firekeeper holding a bundle of resin-coated tinder. He flashes a grin and shows you how to peel back birch bark just right, lighting the resin with a single spark. Your eyes widen. The trick is brilliant. But before you can ask more, he nabs your flint knife from your belt and disappears into the trees with a mocking wave. You're left standing there, dumbfounded but impressed. That sly move is a reminder that even among firekeepers, trust is fragile. Some historians speculate that such exchanges of knowledge, sometimes friendly, sometimes hostile, were crucial in the spread of fire mastery across groups. Others argue that knowledge was fiercely guarded, passed down only within tight-knit clans. You huff a breath, eyes scanning the woods for your missing knife, then pocket the resin bundle. You'll have to make do without your favourite tool for now, but at least you've gained a new fire trick to add to your repertoire. Returning to your camp, you feel a mixture of frustration and awe. The flame you nurture isn't just a tool, it's a symbol of status and survival. Firekeepers are both respected and envied, their skills vital yet constantly challenged. Back by your own fire pit, you try out the resin trick, blowing gently on the bundle until a steady flame ignites. The fire catches and grows, sending sparks into the air like tiny stars. The smell of burning resin is sharp but invigorating. You smirk to yourself, thinking about how this day might go down in firekeeper lore, if you survive to tell the tale. Back at camp, the reward for your efforts comes in the form of charred scraps from yesterday's hunt. Bone marrow roasted over open flames, the delicacy that keeps the clan going through the lean times. You chew on the brittle blackened bits, savouring the smoky flavour, even though the texture is tough enough to test your patience. It's a humble meal, but it's what you get for a day spent chasing kindling and dodging other firekeepers. The clan gathers around the fire pit, swapping stories and disputes about the spirit world. One elder insists that cooking food kills its spirit, making it spiritually dead, a belief that clashes with your practical experience. Cooked food tastes better, and frankly, it keeps you alive. This tension between ritual and survival is nothing new. Historians still debate how early humans balanced spiritual beliefs with the increasingly practical uses of fire. You notice the younger children poking at the fire, their faces lit by the warm glow. You try to keep an eye on them. Last week little Mako nearly burned his fingers, and you can't afford another fire mishap. Fire is respect, yes, but it's also danger. One false move, and a whole cave could go up in smoke. Between bites of marrow, you watch the smoke curl lazily toward the cave's mouth. It's a familiar comfort, a sign of life and warmth in a world that can turn cold and cruel without warning. You remember the strange tales the elders told about smoke signals? Some think early humans used smoke to communicate over long distances, sending messages to other bands. Others argue it was just a byproduct of the fire, with no intentional meaning. You shrug and blow on the fire, watching the embers glow brighter. The clan's quiet chatter fills the cave, and for a moment the worries fade. You're part of something bigger, a link in a long chain of firekeepers who have carried this vital flame through countless nights. After the meal, the day shifts to the delicate task of fire maintenance. You crouch by the fire pit, turning logs and poking embers with a sharpened stick, careful to keep the flame steady. The crackling sound is hypnotic, a comforting rhythm amid the murmurs of the clan. The fire isn't just warmth or light, it's a pulse that connects everyone here. The smoke swirls around you, carrying the sharp scent of burnt wood mixed with something earthy, maybe crushed leaves or dried herbs tucked between the stones. You recall an odd ritual the elders perform at dusk, when they toss specific leaves into the fire to cleanse the spirit. Some say this was an early form of aromatherapy. Others believe it was more symbolic, meant to protect the clan from unseen dangers. Historians still argue whether these early rituals were common or isolated practices. You glance up at the cave's mouth where the light shifts, birds circling overhead. The forest beyond is alive with movement, the rustle of small animals and the distant call of predators. Fire keeps them at bay, but you know it can't protect forever. Your thoughts drift to the tools scattered nearby. Flint knives, bone scrapers and wooden spears. Fire was essential for hardening spear tips, making weapons more reliable. This technology wasn't just about survival. It changed how humans hunted, fought, and ultimately thrived. Some scholars debate whether fire mastery drove brain development, or if it was a natural consequence of evolving intelligence. Whatever the cause, the connection between fire and human progress is undeniable. You poke the fire again, watching the sparks leap into the darkening cave. The flames dance and cast flickering shadows that seem almost alive. It's easy to believe the elders when they say the fire has a spirit, one that watches over the clan, ready to punish carelessness or reward vigilance. Your fingers itch to touch the warm wood, to stoke the flames higher. Fire demands respect, but it also invites fascination. You wonder how many more nights you'll spend here guarding this fragile blaze before your time passes and another takes up the mantle. For now, though, the fire is yours to keep, your duty and your legacy. As the sun dips lower, the fire becomes a beacon against the growing darkness. You notice the faint flicker of stars peeking through the cave entrance, their cold light contrasting with the warm glow you've nurtured all day. The clan gathers closer, faces softening in the firelight, shadows stretching long and strange along the rocky walls. You pull a dry hide tighter around your shoulders. Tonight the chill seems sharper than usual. The fire crackles steadily, but you know from experience that a sudden gust or a careless ember could snuff it out. Losing the fire overnight isn't just an inconvenience, it's a threat to the clan's survival. The elders start their evening chants, rhythmic and low, voices blending with the crackling flames. They speak of ancestors who first captured fire from the heavens, though whether they mean lightning or some ancient ritual remains a mystery. Some historians argue that fire mastery began as an accidental discovery from natural blazes, while others suggest it was a deliberate skill taught over generations. You watch the smoke curl upward, imagining it as a bridge between worlds, between the living and the dead, the seen and unseen. The smell of wood smoke mixed with the faintest hint of wild herbs fills your senses. It's calming, grounding, a reminder that despite everything, life goes on. Nearby, a young clan member fiddles nervously with a small stick, trying to mimic your earlier spark making. You smile to yourself, remembering your own fumbling attempts long ago. Firekeeping isn't just about skill, it's about patience, respect, and a touch of stubbornness. As the night deepens, the fire's warmth pushes back the cold shadows. You glance around the cave, feeling the weight of your role settle comfortably on your shoulders. The fire is alive, your responsibility, your legacy, your fragile link to the past and the future. Night deepens, and the fire's glow pulses gently, casting long, flickering shadows across the cave walls. You sit close, feeling the heat seep into your bones as the chill of the night creeps in. The crackle and pop of the flames become a soft lullaby, and your thoughts drift like the smoke spiralling into the star-studded sky. You think about the fire's role beyond mere survival. It's a gathering point, a storyteller's stage, a place where knowledge and legends pass from one generation to the next. Around this very fire, elders teach the young about hunting grounds, dangerous beasts, and the secrets of edible plants. The fire's light illuminates faces eager to learn and minds thirsty for wisdom. Some historians suggest that fire played a critical role in the development of language and social bonding. The warmth and safety it provided encouraged longer gatherings and conversations. Others debate whether these social rituals were the cause or effect of mastering fire. Either way, you feel its power in every flicker. The smoke carries scents of yesterday's mammoth dung, charred wood, and the subtle hint of crushed herbs thrown into the flames for good fortune. You remember the elders' stories about smoke signals, whether early humans really used them to communicate or if it was just an imagined myth remains a hot topic among scholars. You catch yourself humming a low tune, a melody passed down through the clan, meant to soothe restless spirits and calm nerves. The fire seems to respond, flames dancing higher as if in time with your song. You lean back, eyes half closed, comforted by the fire's steady rhythm and the clan's quiet breathing. This ancient flame is more than a tool. It's a companion, a protector, and a symbol of everything your people have endured and achieved. The first hint of dawn creeps into the cave, softening the shadows and casting a pale light on the sleeping clan. You sit beside the fire, now reduced to glowing embers, and poke at them with a stick until tiny flames flicker back to life. The cycle begins anew, fire dying and being reborn with each day. You feel the weight of your role as the firekeeper most acutely at these quiet hours. Before the hunt, before the chores, before the day's noise, the fire must be tended. Your hands are steady but cold, the air damp and biting. You breathe in the familiar smoky scent, a mix of burnt wood and something earthy, roots maybe, or the lingering smell of yesterday's meal. Some scholars debate whether early humans carried embers during migration, or if they had to rekindle fire from scratch every time. Either way, the ability to keep a fire alive overnight was a skill that set your clan apart. You remember the advice from the elders. Bank the fire with stones and ashes, protect it from wind and rain, and never let the spirit of the flame falter. Your thoughts wander to the strange discovery of fire-hardening wooden spears. Heating the tips over fire made them more durable and deadly, a clever innovation that changed the hunting game. It's hard to say if this was an accidental breakthrough or a deliberate technique shared among clans. Historians still argue. As the fire catches stronger and begins to warm the cave, the clan stirs, rubbing sleep from their eyes. You watch them wake, their faces illuminated by the glow. Your work keeps them safe and strong. Your fire is their lifeline. The day stretches ahead, full of routine and challenge. But for now, there's peace in the gentle crackle of the flame and the quiet breath of the cave. The day unfolds with its usual rhythm, but your focus remains on the fire. You gather kindling and twigs, mindful of the best dry pieces among the scattered leaves and damp bark. The forest around you is alive, chirping birds, rustling leaves, the occasional snap of a twig underfoot. It's a peaceful backdrop, but you know danger lurks in the shadows. You recall the stories about early humans using fire not just for warmth or cooking, but to keep predators away. Smoke and flames could deter hungry beasts, lions, wolves, hyenas, that prowled nearby. Some experts argue whether this was an intentional strategy or an accidental benefit of keeping fires burning. The debate continues, but for you, the fire is a shield as much as a tool. Today you decide to experiment with stacking the wood differently, hoping to create a longer-lasting flame. You remember a fringe theory suggesting that some ancient humans may have used fire pits lined with stones or even dug small trenches to control airflow and improve combustion. Historians still argue about how widespread such techniques were, but the idea fascinates you. The smell of burning resin and dry wood fills the air as you carefully arrange the logs. The fire catches quickly, and you watch the flames rise, casting dancing shadows across the forest floor. The warmth spreads, and with it, a sense of accomplishment. Nearby, the clan members prepare for the day's hunt, sharpening tools and whispering plans. You feel the familiar pull of your duty, knowing the fire will need tending while they're away. You settle back, keeping your eyes on the blaze, feeling the steady pulse of the fire beat in time with your own heart. It's more than a flame. It's the clan's lifeblood, a constant in a world that changes with every season. Afternoon sun filters weakly through thick foliage, casting dappled patterns on the cave floor as you settle beside the fire pit for a moment's rest. The fire, your ever-watchful companion, still smokes gently, its embers glowing faintly beneath a scattering of ash. The scent of burnt wood mingles with the damp earth, a reminder of yesterday's rain and the fragile balance you maintain to keep the flame alive. You run your fingers over a piece of flint, its rough edges worn smooth by countless strikes. Flint tools are indispensable, and the skill to fashion them sharp enough for cutting and scraping is as valuable as your firekeeping. Interestingly, some fringe researchers propose that early humans may have decorated their tools, or even flint-knapped with some aesthetic purpose, hinting at a spark of creativity even in those distant days. Mainstream historians remain cautious, still debating the true extent of symbolic behaviour in this era. Your thoughts drift to the curious fact that fire helped soften tough foods, making nutrition easier to extract and digest. This dietary advantage likely contributed to brain growth, a fascinating connection still debated by scholars who ask whether fire use triggered cognitive leaps or merely accompanied them. Suddenly the smell of burnt resin hits your nose again, and you remember the resin-coated tinder from the rival firekeepers. You rub some small flakes onto a dry stick, recalling the trick of quick ignition. The spark catches fast and the flame jumps eagerly, sending a tiny plume of smoke upward. The fire's steady glow is calming, and as you watch the flickering light, your mind wanders to how fire shaped not only survival, but social dynamics. Around this fire, bonds are forged, stories shared, and the clan's identity woven tighter with every passing night. Evening edges in slowly, the sun dipping behind distant hills, casting a warm amber hue over the camp. You sit near the fire, its glow growing stronger as the light fades. The fire's crackling is rhythmic, almost hypnotic, mixing with the soft rustle of leaves and distant calls of nocturnal creatures awakening. Your fingers absently trace the familiar grooves on your flint knife, a prized tool and symbol of your firekeeping status. You recall a lesser-known fact. Some early humans may have added pigments or simple carvings to their tools, a primitive form of self-expression. Historians debate the extent and significance of these early decorations, with some seeing them as a sign of emerging culture, others attributing them to mere practicality or chance. The fire is more than warmth, it's a signal to the clan that safety persists. Predators are kept at bay, and the light wards off the creeping fears that darkness tends to bring. You watch as the younger clan members gather closer, eyes wide, drawn to the fire's glow like moths. Nearby, an elder begins to drum a steady beat on a hollowed log, a sound that seems to vibrate through the cave and into your bones. Music, storytelling, ritual. These are all part of the fire's sphere of influence, sparking not just survival, but community. You take a deep breath, smelling the mix of smoke, earth, and a hint of crushed herbs thrown into the flames for protection. Whether these practices are rooted in spiritual belief or early science, historians still argue, but you feel their calming effect. As night settles in fully, you lean back, feeling the fire's warmth seep through your skin. The flame is fragile, yes, but also resilient, much like the clan itself. The deep night wraps around the camp like a velvet cloak, and the fire flickers with a steady, reassuring glow. You sit quietly, eyes tracing the dance of flames, letting the warmth seep into your chilled bones. The crackling fire feels like an old friend, one that has seen countless nights like this, nights of watchfulness, stories, and silent contemplation. You think about the curious discovery that some early humans may have used fire to create pigments for cave paintings, grinding charcoal into powder for black pigment. These early artists, whether driven by ritual or simple expression, use fire's byproducts to leave their marks, a fascinating glimpse into the cognitive leaps that fire helped foster. Historians still debate when and why this practice began, but it's clear fire played a part in shaping human creativity. The air smells of smouldering wood and faint traces of dried moss, mixed with the occasional wisp of smoke. The fire's light throws giant shadows on the cave walls, shapes that seem to flicker between the real and the imagined. You remember the elders' tale about fire spirits, beings that guard the flame and demand respect. It sounds far-fetched, but such stories remind everyone of the fire's power and fragility. Your fingers drum softly on your thigh as you watch the embers slowly die down, the fire's life force waning but not gone. You're aware that soon you will need to rekindle it. Come dawn, keeping the cycle going. Fire lost is survival threatened. The night deepens and the clan's breathing slows, soothed by the fire's steady presence. You find comfort in the knowledge that, as long as you keep this flame alive, your people will endure. The first light of dawn creeps into the cave, washing the rocky walls in a pale glow. You sit beside the fire pit, now nothing more than cold ashes sprinkled with glowing embers, and you begin the ritual of rekindling the flame. It's a slow, careful process. Friction between wood, sparks from flint, gentle coaxing of smoke and flame. The fire is stubborn at first, but gradually responds, flickering and growing into a steady blaze. This daily act connects you to countless generations before you, all of whom depended on this flame to live. Fire wasn't just a tool, it was a symbol of human resilience and ingenuity. Some scholars argue that the mastery of fire marks the true dawn of humanity, while others believe it was a gradual evolution intertwined with culture and survival strategies. You inhale deeply, the familiar scent of burning wood filling your lungs. It's a comforting aroma, a scent of home, safety, and continuity. You recall a curious fringe theory that some ancient humans may have used firelight to extend their active hours, effectively changing their sleep patterns and social behaviours, a hypothesis still debated by anthropologists. As the fire crackles steadily, the clan awakens around you, faces illuminated by the warm glow. You see the trust and reliance in their eyes. They depend on your vigilance, your knowledge, and your steady hands. It's a weighty responsibility, but also a profound honour. Outside, the forest begins to stir with the sounds of morning. The calls of birds, the rustle of leaves, the distant movement of prey and predators. Inside, the fire's heartbeat pulses strong, a lifeline in a wild and unpredictable world. You lean back, feeling the warmth seep through your skin, knowing the cycle will begin again tomorrow. For now, there is peace. Quiet moments held between flame and shadow, past and future. As the fire's warmth fades with the coming light, your breath slows and deepens, syncing with the gentle rhythm of the world awakening around you. The day's labour will soon call, but for this fragile moment, time stretches thin and soft like the last wisps of smoke curling into the dawn sky. Feel the lingering heat cradle your skin, a tender reminder of the spark that carries life and hope across untold generations. The fire, once fierce and vital, now rests quietly, its embers glowing faintly beneath the ashes, holding memories of the night's stories and the promise of tomorrow's flames. Breathe in the cool morning air scented with earth and pine, a whisper of calm after the night's watch. Let your thoughts drift like smoke, unhurried and light, floating free from worry or haste. The world, wild and unpredictable, continues its dance, and you, part of this ancient rhythm, find your place within it. Know that, no matter the darkness, the fire will return. Its light is a beacon for the lost, a shield against fear, and a warmth in the cold. And as your eyelids grow heavy, may the gentle crackle of flames soothe your mind and carry you softly into dreams. Rest now. The firekeeper's vigil endures, steady, unbroken, eternal. Sweet dreams.